With us heading into Season 1B, which is the second half of Season 1, described as fans since that Season 1 has 52 episodes, more than the other future seasons, I need to be really honest with you that the second half of Season 1 really shows that they're trying to take Steven Universe to a different direction in comparison to how the first half of Season 1 is established. This is also the first episode where we get to see Greg's aunt and uncle's barn, which is later to be Peridot and Lapis' home. As far as I'm concerned, I felt like that this episode, called Space Race, well, since that they can't be able to get the warp pads working, with it being the Pearl episode, it gave me a demonstration on what Pearl is feeling at the moment, since that whole relationship towards Greg kind of shows that she's having a difficult time moving forward, especially keeping the secret way hidden than anyone else. Granted, when it comes to fusion, it's gonna be a lot more complicated to understand, but believe me when I say this, if I really have to come to a conclusion that Pearl is a mastermind when it comes to protecting her secrets from anyone, especially in fusion, then we will probably be here all day. Anyway, with this plot centering around Steven wanting to go to outer space, since that there are multiple planets that have gems, and it leads to more artifacts when it comes to witnessing what it's like in outer space, especially since that what Pearl really likes the most after her journeys in the crystal as a crystal gem. I honestly felt like what Pearl did in this episode was mainly her just trying to think a lot more, but also thinking outside of the box. With Greg being the main character in this, since that he's only doing this for fun with Steven going in outer space, which is mainly for fun, Pearl thinks otherwise, since that she is taking this a lot more seriously after doing some research and rebuilding the spaceship. Believe me when I say this, Pearl in this episode wanting to go to outer space is a little bit powerful character since that the wall pads aren't working, and the only way to go to outer space is doing an alternative, but at the same time, alternatives aren't always the solution to everything. This is literally one of the examples of Pearl just trying everything to move forward, but at the same time, moving forward doesn't automatically mean that it's going to work out for you, because of how when there's a moment when you need to bail, you seriously need to bail. Because as far as I'm concerned, making a spaceship is somewhat willing to accomplish, if only if you actually knew what the outcome is going to be like. Like, Pearl just doing tests is one thing, but at the same time, she didn't do all the tweaks on trying to make sure that it would be safe to go to outer space with Steven, only to realize that spaceships just aren't really a thing when it comes to humankind, and since that gems use spaceships fine in outer space, this shows off literally knows how to be grounded with reality when it comes to the equipment that it has in comparison to gem equipment. Let me just say this right now, that if these characters have the ability to make a spaceship and going to different planets, then I'm pretty sure that this will have been a Galaxy vibe when it comes to going to different planets and getting shelter while they go to those planets, mainly grabbing equipment and whatnot. I think that this episode's really important because it really showcases that the equipment that Pearl has on Earth just isn't the same as the gem equipment from Homeworld or the other planets that have gem equipment, but I'm not sure. But my point is that what Pearl is dealing with at the moment, she doesn't have the equipment that is the same as gem equipment. When they try to leave Earth, the ship itself is falling apart. And as far as I'm concerned, with the equipment that Pearl has on Earth, just isn't as powerful as gem equipment, and I'm gonna be really honest with you, rewatching this episode literally gave me the understanding that Pearl is really thinking outside of the box, even though that she is the most intelligent in comparison to Amethyst and Garnet. Like, it's really impressive that she put all this together when it comes to her knowledge, but at the same time knowing full well that her taking the situation seriously by going to outer space is honestly a fantasy that kind of works in the real world, but in comparison to what she's doing with right now with the equipment, in comparison to gym equipment, it's not going to work out for her. Like, as far as I'm concerned, the ending, well, they get injected from the plane in order to land on Earth is also a good ending to showcase the development of Steven and Paul, and at the same time knowing full well that this is an indication of what's going to happen with the characters going into outer space numerous of times. I don't even know what the outcome would have been like if they did succeed on Paul's plan, because as far as I'm concerned, if we don't get to see Garnet and Amethyst and they're struggling on building a spaceship just like Paul, then believe me when I say this will take a different turn, which could be promising when it comes to the development of Steven and Paul, but as far as I'm concerned, I'm pretty sure they will probably land on the moon, because I don't think the ship will be cooperative enough to go through multiple trips when it comes to outer space. Then again, it's just me thinking about the alternatives of what this will have gone to in comparison to what we ended up getting, but that's just always me thinking about the alternatives. For this episode itself, it's a good episode when it comes to Paul's development and mostly thinking outside the box. And when she finally bails when Steven tells her to, it made me see that she has development that is crystal clear. I understand I need to get into the later episodes, but when it comes to the season 1 episode that I wanted to review for so long that centers around Steven and Paul, believe me, I'm honestly looking forward to talk about the episode when we head into it soon enough. Because as far as I'm concerned, as much as the critiques are mostly right, it didn't stop me to see this show differently. I'm giving this episode a 7.75 out of 10.